someone explain to me what the actual issue with Valko is? I feel like I've heard something new every day, and the story just keeps changing. With that out of the way, hi! I wanted to talk about my own feelings on Love and Deep Space, the removal of Valko, and why I'm personally frustrated with the game, the devs, and the fandom as a whole. To give a TLDR, about a month ago, Love and Deep Space released their newest love interest named Valko, a werewolf-adjacent love interest who struck a chord with a large portion of the community. I've heard a lot of things about his character, such as worries about him pushing boundaries with some of his scenes, to him not fitting the same beauty standards as the other characters. I have more to talk about on the latter, but let's talk about the former first. I would honestly argue that Caleb has pushed on more touchy topics, or in the very least on the same level. To make it clear, I don't hate Caleb. I find his character to be very interesting, even if there's quite a few red flags. Such as, locking the main character in his house, using substances to knock her out. While Love and Deep Space does show a lot of instances of healthy relationship dynamics, it also leans into more taboo subjects. Caleb is essentially an overprotective, borderline yandere character. In fact, in Caleb's original Chinese translation, it leans more into taboo than the English version of the character. Here's the thing. I'm not going to claim to understand Chinese culture and what is and isn't acceptable there. What's important to me might not be important to someone else, and vice versa, and I respect that. However, discomfort is an important part of being a functional adult, and Love and Deep Space is definitely not for children. Characters, kinks, and certain storylines aren't going to be for everyone, but it's not fair to take that away from someone else who might have a positive experience. For a lot of people, fiction can be healing, or even a cathartic experience. It can be a way to heal from trauma, self-reflect, or even just find comfort during stressful times. If you don't like something, then you don't have to engage with it. And as someone who's familiar with taboo and has his own trauma, I don't find what I saw of Valko to be particularly distressing. When discussing his character with friends who have also experienced relationship trauma, none of us found issue with his characterization, at least with what was available in the trailer. Mind you, when I joined the game for Valko, they'd already shoved him back into the coming soon category by the time I downloaded it, so I didn't get to experience the cards or the storyline with him. That being said, he is also kind of the most vanilla option you'll find for a wolf-like character. He's basically a wolf with human ears and a tail, and is meant to appeal to everyone who enjoyed Jacob from Twilight. And I don't want to say I'm an expert on werewolves, but I mean, look at me. It's kind of in the title. Now, I want to talk about the matter of Valko not fitting into beauty standards for a moment. I take personal issue with this notion, or in the very least I find it kind of, offensive. Here's the thing. A lot of this is rumors and discussion, and the whole situation is incredibly messy. However, what drew me to the game was seeing a character who looks like me and is very gender-affirming. I like the wolf aesthetic, and while European characters aren't exactly rare in video games, Valko's build, hairstyle, and general good boy personality resonated with me a lot. So, to hear that people find him ugly was just kind of a gut punch. That's more of a personal gripe, though, so I'm curious what your thoughts are on the subject. Finally, I want to talk about the boycott as a whole and my general thoughts. Love and Deep Space and its developer Inful have gotten a lot of backlash from the removal of Valko. A movement has been going on for about a month, such as people not playing the game, not supporting the game financially, and keeping the topic going, as well as reaching out to support lines. It's important to keep developers honest when it comes to things we don't like, especially when companies have a monopoly on a particular genre. In the past month, Love and Deep Space's reviews have tanked hardcore on the App Store. People are warning others about the game, the poor business practices, and discussions are high on the topic right now. This video is ultimately a very lightweight dive into the topic by comparison, and if you want to learn more, I highly recommend checking out a video that goes more in depth. Love and Deep Space is a big proponent in the Otome game scene right now, and I have to assume that they're making a pretty big penny given how popular the game is. However, given the controversies on both sides, the way that the Chinese government was involved, and the legal issues surrounding the game, I have to wonder if they might consider pulling the plug after experiencing all these issues. Now, here's the thing. From a business perspective, it doesn't make much sense for them to pull the plug on the game. It's likely making them millions. However, the developers are between a rock and a hard place right now. On one half, they have a small, albeit loud minority who protested Valko's addition. On the other side, they have a large vocal minority of both domestic and international players who want the character returned. Do they listen to the people who started it and keep Valko out of the game? Do they return Valko and lose the group who felt uncomfortable with his presence? They've already taken significant losses in ratings and income after the removal, but with pressure on all sides, it's hard to see where it's gonna go. I personally hope that Valko will be returned to the game. Even as a newcomer to the franchise, I have noticed a lot of bugs and missing textures after what happened to Valko's Coming Soon section being removed. He's essentially become a coconut.jpg of the game and its functionality, and damage to the game like that will continue to damage its reputation. An important thing to know when running a business is that getting a customer is easy, but once you lose them, it's really hard to get them back. Infold is in a pretty rough spot right now, though if it were me, I think returning Valko would be a safer bet. If it were a matter of character writing or design, characters can be changed. A character can be rewritten, but money can't be earned if you lose your customer base's trust. Mind you, I have a very limited scope on all of this. I'm a newbie to the scene and viewing it from a relatively outside perspective. But I'm also an overseasoned veteran of the fandom scene, and I've seen how the wheel of drama turns. It's important to remember that as passionate as we are about these kinds of things, it's important not to harass anyone over this, whether they be fan or developer. A boycott loses its meaning and power if you threaten developers, and it puts both the game and the people who enjoy it in a bad light. Be respectful with other people online, even if you disagree with them. They're people. Well, outside of the countless bots online that might have been responsible for this whole thing, but that's another story. Thanks for listening to me ramble for a few minutes. I'm curious about what you think about the whole thing. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye!